Hey everyone, good morning. Welcome back to Pine Hollow Auto Diagnostics. 2002 Toyota 4Runner. This is the one that had the fuel pump issue. This is the one that had the evap issue. And now it has a four-wheel drive issue. So the owner says he was on a dirt road, he put it into 4 high, and he can't get it out of four-wheel drive. It's stuck in 4 high. So let's take it for a quick spin, see what works and what doesn't work. And here's the transfer case shift lever. So in this system, if you're in high range, you can select 4-wheel drive by pushing the button or releasing it. That's 2-wheel drive. Then you have neutral and 4 low. And then it has the center differential lock button here. And the whole system is controlled by this 4-wheel drive ECU that lives over here. It's not on the network, we can't read codes or anything. This is kind of an older style system. But yeah, let's take it for a spin and see what happens. Alright, let's fire up the beast. You can see we're blinking. So let's put it into 4 high. Still blinking. Let's just turn off the power mode. So it's just blinking, blinking, blinking. Put it into neutral. Let's see, can we go to 4 low? Okay. Yep, it's crow hopping, so we're definitely in 4 low. So back to 4 high. Yep, it's binding up. Does the center diff lock button do anything? No, it's just not happy. It's blinking. Put it in 2-wheel drive. So in 2-wheel drive, is it still in 4-wheel drive? Let's see. Oh yeah, it's still crow hopping. So apparently it's stuck in 4 high with the center differential locked. Because if it was unlocked, it wouldn't crow hop. So this transfer case, it's a little fancier than just 4 high and 4 low, like my Suzuki XL7 there. If you put that thing in 4 high, it doesn't have a center differential. It's just 50-50, locks the 2 drive shafts together, and it'll crow hop in 4 high. This one with the center diff unlocked, it's supposed to, not, you could drive it around normally even on dry pavement in 4-wheel drive, and the center diff would allow different speeds to the front and rear axles. So this thing is stuck in 4 high diff lock mode. Let's pull in the shop, verify that. We can lift it up, spin one of the front wheels, see if it's locked in. Also the front axle disconnect on these trucks, that has to be engaged and disengaged. So if there's a problem with that, there could be a problem anywhere in the system, and we're gonna have to check it manually, unfortunately. Alright, so I got this front wheel jacked up off the ground, and as suspected, everything is locked in. So the front axle disconnect, you can see the front drive shaft is trying to turn, that's locked too. The transfer case, so the diff lock is on. Everything's locked. So it's stuck in 4 high with diff lock. Alright, so here's our 4-wheel drive ECU controller. Just a little box with 1 connector. And I printed off the OE and the non-OE wiring diagrams. So this is the redrawn. This is the OEM. We have all kinds of switches to tell the box where what position the transfer case is in. And we have this ADD actuator, that's the axle disconnect. So there's the transfer case shift motor. So we can unbolt this thing for a little easier access. Do all of our wiring checks right here. So let's get a test light, a meter. Probably won't need a scope for this, and do some checks right at this box. I do see it has some slight corrosion on the case, so we could even pop it apart. Make sure there's no corrosion on the board. We can start with that. It looks pretty easy to uncrimp these little tabs, and then just do some checks at these wires. Alright, I'm just curious. I want to take a peek inside this board. Pretty easy, just comes apart like that. It looks mint on this side. Does it come off? Oh, there's little tabs holding it on there. We could loosen those up. There we go. Looks nice and mint on this side. Make sure there's two relays right here. Make sure those solder joints look good. They're not cracked or anything. So I'm going to take a close look at those. They look fine to the naked eye. So let's plug it in and do some checks right at this module. Alright, here we go. So key on. We're blinking, right? So car's not happy with something right now in the four-wheel drive system. First thing I want to check is the actual position of the transfer case. We know it's in 4 high locked. That's the 4HL designation right there. So this switch, detection switch, should be grounded. So these detection switches, there's just 4 high regular, this is 4 high locked, this is 4 low, and that's neutral. So 1, 2, 3, 4 position switches right in the transfer case. And all of the wires, or at least 3 of them, go to our four-wheel drive box. So very easy. Let's just, we can put a meter on there or a test light, whatever. Just measure the voltage on those 3 sense pins for these 3 switches and see if they are accurate. If we're in 4 high low, this yellow wire on pin 18 should be pulled to ground. Alright, so I have my meter on the yellow sense wire for this 4 high lock position. 100 millivolts, but it's kind of floating around. I don't know if that's normal. Let's load that circuit with a test light from battery positive. So this is battery positive. I have just an adapter and the cigarette lighter, so we have a good power and ground source. So if the test light finds a ground, here's my test light. If it finds a ground, it's going to light up. Okay? Let's see if it lights up on the yellow wire. Yes. Okay, so that switch right now is on or closed. Let's check the other 2 switches. This 4-wheel drive free and then the 4 low. And those go to pin 6 is a red and black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, red and black. We have 10.8 volts on there, so that switch is open. That's what I expect. And then, so that was the low. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the 4 free, and then the blue and red goes to pin 5. Also, it says 12 volts. Okay, I don't know why one says 12 and the other one says 11. There you go, 10.8 on that one. Those switches are open, so this thing should know that we are in 4 high locked. Now, if we press the 4-wheel drive switch, and this button, I mean, the indicator's still blinking, there's still a problem. What does it not like? There are also switches inside the transfer case motor that are not described in OEM service info. And I assume they're position switches that also go back to the transfer case. And, well, it's, I don't really know if they're supposed to be open or closed. We can check to see if in 4 or a 4 high locked position, if any of these are open or closed. That's easy to do. But I'm not sure what it's not happy with. You could also be not happy with the axle disconnect that has feedback wires going to, see, there's motor 1, motor 2, L2, and L1, green and light green, so pins 23, 10, and 23. I don't know what those are, but let's just measure voltage on all the pins. Alright, so I'm just going through all the pins one by one. So pin 3 is a speed sensor. I'm not worried about that right now. 2-4 switch, pink, goes to the actual 4-wheel drive button. So when it's out, we have 12 volts. I press it in, it goes to 0, so that works fine. The L4, it's pin 5, the blue and red. That's high if you're in 2-wheel drive. If you put it in neutral or 4 low, we're low. Okay, so that works. Next pin, gray wire, pin 7, it goes to the center diff lock switch, so we're high. If I press the switch, it gets pulled low, so that's fine. Okay, so next let's check these switches in the transfer case motor. So these two are both high volt, TL3 and TL1. However, TL2, blue and white wire, this top switch, that's closed in the position that we're currently in. And it does pass current, so if we put a test light on there, that switch is definitely closed. So I marked that. This switch is closed in 4 high, locked mode. Alright, so next 2 pins, let's see, DL1 goes down to L1 on the ADD actuator. Now, I don't know what these are supposed to be. I guess we can look that up. So this one is low voltage. That's the light green wire. And if we put a test light to it, no test light. So that's an open circuit right now. So for DL1, 0 volts open circuit, it's key to know if it's 0 volts open or if it's 0 volts grounded. That's why we have a meter and a test light. That's very key. What about DL2? There's green and white on pin 23. Let's go to pin 23. Also looks like an open circuit. If we try to go, oh look, that one lit a test light, 0.5 volt. Release it, off. Interesting. The DL2, 0 volts, but this is closed for DL2. DL1 was 0 volts open. Is that I guess we should look up the ADD actuator. Diagram. Again, that's definitely the case here. Alright, so I found some information on this ADD detection switch and limit switch. So this DL2 and DL1, just like I thought, is basically free or lock mode. So after the free to lock switch is complete, in lock, the DL2 should be grounded. And then check lock to free. After lock to free switch is complete, DL1 should be grounded. Okay, this is key. I think this is going to be our problem. Okay, so the way the system is laid out, this ADD actuator has a battery positive feed. So I think in free mode, you're supposed to get 12 volts here, and that goes this way, and the module is supposed to see the 12 volts. And then if you're locked, right now we measured that in locked mode, in four-wheel drive mode, this right here was 0 volts, but it was closed. So we sent voltage here from a test light, and it got pulled to ground. Interesting, right? So, and this is an open circuit. So this is what I'm worried about. This is an open circuit. We have 0 volts here. If we send 12 volts, the test light did not light. So this is somewhere, I'm assuming, there's a break in the wire. Now, it's not clear in OEM service info if this module is supposed to be sending out 12 volts waiting to be pulled to ground. That would make sense, but that's it's not what we're seeing. Okay? It's an open circuit for sure. So let's disconnect this actuator and check wiring integrity from the module to pin 6. And then, we know this integrity is good because it lights our test light from battery positive. So this is the next step. Let's find this plug and disconnect it. Okay, so a little misleading here. This B plus, what is that? Blue or black and blue wire. Well, that goes to, it's actually a green and black coming out of the ADD, then it goes to black and blue, goes to the engine control module, four-wheel drive, goes to the VCU, and ADD to the module, black and blue wire. So, according to the OEM, what you're supposed to have here, I'm not exactly sure that this is correct. I was guessing that, but I think right now on that wire, on the black and blue, or pin 19, let's see, ADD pin 19, this one right here, black and blue, what do we have? We have a floating 0 volt reading. What if we connect power to that? It's definitely grounded. Okay, our indicator's still flashing. So right now, in lock mode, this is grounded. If it wasn't grounded, then it would be in two-wheel drive. Okay? So the only thing that doesn't make sense is this L1 on pin 6. Light green wire, that's an open circuit because it's at 0 volts and it's not grounded. That's the only one that doesn't make sense to me. See, we can lift it high. So let's go to the ADD now and see if, we'll put the test light on here. If we ground this light green wire, will the test light come on? Or is that wire open circuit? Okay, we're under the truck. I unplugged the ADD actuator. It's a 6-pin connector. Run that light green wire, pin 6, and look, we have 13.6 volts. That's coming through from battery positive through that little test light at the module to here. So wiring integrity looks just fine. So my question is, with this actuator unplugged, should we have 12 volts across the board at those 3 sense pins, ADD, L1, and L2? Let's see if that's the case. Okay, so on the ADD wire, remember the actuator's unplugged, 11.3 volts. Okay, that's fine. L1 is the light green right here, and pin 10, open circuit. I don't like that. And L2, that's the green and white on pin 23. Make sure I'm on the right pin. That is also not 12 volts. So either I'm not understanding something, or this module is not putting out a 12 volt signal trying to be pulled to ground. We can put a test light back on here. Obviously it won't ground it out. So that's no longer being pulled to ground. This is confusing. I wish I could see the internal circuitry of the ADD, but we don't have that. So remember that Toyota Tacoma, the 2006, that would not go into four-wheel drive? We diagnosed that one, and that one had nice OEM diagrams that actually had internals of this ADD actuator. So I do remember correctly, Toyota doesn't change stuff just for kicks, well, except for the last few years when they really went downhill. This is an identical setup for this ADD. Two wires to the motor, this ADD sense, and then a DL2 and DL1. So in the free mode, DL2 is not grounded, DL1 is grounded, and ADD is not grounded. So those should be a 12. When you switch to four-wheel drive and it locks in, ADD is grounded. So this works fine. However, we're not getting voltage sent out on DL2 and DL1. So this is a pull-down design. This is pull-down. So this L1 and L2, they're supposed to be 12 volts here through a resistor going that way, waiting to be pulled down by this. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the module. We have 12 volts going this way, waiting to be pulled down by the ADD. We don't have 12 volts here. These sliders work fine because in locked mode we do have a good ground on L2. So this is looking like a bad four-wheel drive ECU. Unfortunately, we don't have 12 volts at these two pins. Crazy. This one's fine. The B plus, the black and blue. This one right here, 12 volts through a resistor, waiting to be pulled down the ground, and it senses it right here. So this works. These two do not work. The module is not sending out 12 volts. So that's it. This four-wheel drive ECU is bad. So unless we can find an internal problem, cracked solder joint perhaps, we're going to need a new box. So let's take a picture of the part number, go on eBay, see if they're available. They should be. These trucks are very common. So that's the diagnosis. We have a bad four-wheel drive ECU. Crazy. First one I've seen. So we'll see if we can get a part or fix the old one. So again, research and knowing how the system works is the only way to get a conclusive 100% guaranteed answer. So look up OEM service info, wiring diagrams. That's the only way you can get to the real root cause.